Welcome back. In today's video, we'll look at genes. We'll look at what they are and what they do. If you look at the people around you, your family and your friends, you'll see that you're all different from each other. But we also have many things in common. For example, the position of our brain, the position of our stomach, the fact that we have 2 lungs. These are the same in almost all humans. You may already know that our DNA controls how our bodies develop. And if you pick any random human, we would predict that your DNA is 99.9% the same as theirs. You also have a lot in common with chimpanzees. Apparently 98 to 99% of our DNA is the same as the DNA of a chimpanzee. But let's go back to the ways that we're different from each other. We call these differences variation. How many examples of variation can you think of? One example of variation is the height of sunflowers. All sunflowers have got genetic factors that make them grow fairly tall, but whether they reach their maximum height will also depend on how much sunlight they receive, whether they have enough water, and other factors. So this tells us that the differences between us, the variation, is due to a combination of both our genetics, our DNA, and our environments. So there are genetic elements to variation, and there are also environmental factors that contribute to variation. In today's video, we'll be focusing on genetic variation and how genes are important in controlling how we develop. If you're new here, welcome to BioSmash. I'm Jo, I'm a science teacher, and I'll help you understand biology better. When we think about DNA, we need to think about this part of the cell, the nucleus. The nucleus is a hollow ball that's inside the cytoplasm of the cell. And if we look inside the nucleus, we find DNA because the DNA is stored inside the nucleus. You may know that your DNA actually contains a secret code for making you, and that code is called our genetic code. If we zoom in on a section of DNA, you can see it looks a bit like a ladder, and the rungs of the ladder are made up of 4 different letters, C, G, A, and T, and it's the order of these letters that's important because this is what makes up the code. If you read the genetic code, you'll see it actually contains over 20,000 recipes, and each one of those recipes is called a gene. And each gene is the recipe for making one chemical or one protein that your body needs. If you're wondering how this happens, then this is the job of ribosomes, and ribosomes read a copy of the genetic code and use it to build a protein. We haven't got time to look at ribosomes in lots of detail today, but if you want to know more, you may find it helpful to check out this video linked below. So each gene is the recipe for making one protein, and those proteins could do lots of different jobs. Some of your genes are important for making the chemicals that make up the coloured part of your eyes. Our eye colour is determined by several different genes working together, and eye colour is an example of genetic variation. We get our genes from our parents, so we say that we inherit them. And when we have children, we copy our genes and put them into our sperm or egg cells so that they're passed on to our children. But when genes are copied, mistakes can happen, just like when you're copying out work. So for example, this gene has been copied, but 2 C's have been put where there should be 2 G's. We sometimes call this copying error a mutation, and scientists also call the gene alteration a variant. Some mutations or variants are harmless and they don't do anything at all, or they may be the reason that we're all different. So for example, different variants can give us different coloured eyes. But sometimes the mutation stops the gene recipe from working correctly. And because the body can't make the particular protein that it needs, this can cause someone to develop health problems. For example, people with cystic fibrosis have a variant in a gene that's needed for the lungs to work correctly. And because this gene's not working correctly, their lungs fill up with a thick and sticky mucus. And because the gene isn't working in the way that it should, these people are more likely to develop chest infections. Well done for getting this far. I've made a little quiz so you can check if you've remembered and understood the key ideas. I'm going to show you 4 different statements and you need to decide whether each one is true or false. Here's our first statement. Is it true or false? DNA is found in the nucleus. Number 2, our height is determined by our genes and our environment. Is that true or false? Number 3, each gene is the recipe for making one sugar. Is that true or false? And the final question, DNA contains 4 letters C, G, U and T. Is that true or false? That one's a bit of a tricky one. I'm about to tell you the answer, so if you need a little bit more time, pause the video now. So our first statement, DNA is found in the nucleus. This is true. Our second statement is also true because our height depends on our genes. If you've got taller parents, you're more likely to be tall, but the amount of food and whether you've got all the nutrients that you need to grow will also determine whether you can reach your maximum height, just like the sunflowers that we talked about. Our second statement is also true because our height depends on our genes. If you've got taller parents, you're more likely to be tall, but the amount of food and whether you've got all the nutrients that you need to grow will also determine whether you can reach your maximum height, just like the sunflowers that we talked about. Our third statement is false. Did you spot the error? The key is the word sugar. So each gene is the recipe for making one protein. Genes don't make sugars. And the fourth statement was quite a tricky one. Did you manage to spot what was wrong with this one? Because this one is also false because DNA contains 4 letters, but those letters are C, G, A and T. I hope you found this video helpful. If you have, then please do like and subscribe to help other people to find it too. I'm in the process of creating a selection of resources to accompany my videos. If you'd like to check those out, then the link to the online shop is below. A big well done for reaching the end of the video. Don't worry if you didn't get it all the first time. You can always go back and watch it maybe tomorrow and the next day and keep doing that until you can get it all. If you're feeling confident about genes, you might want to check out some of our other videos which are linked below. Or if you've got a request for a video that you would like to see, then please do comment below and tell me. Now I hope to see you again soon. Together we'll smash your biology revision.